Welcome to The Flip. Every successful CEO faces a choice. Keep doing what got you here, but no further, or flip to building what gets you there. Two £20 million businesses make different choices. 10 years later, one is worth 35 million, the other is worth 4.4 billion. That's not luck. That's not market timing. That's the flip. From founder dependent to enterprise, from hero to architect, from 35 million to 4.4 billion. This is The Flip. And I'm Jo, and I'm with my host, Tim.
Hello,
hi.
Jo.
Hi. So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about the myths behind building a business, for each CEO could potentially face. Do you want to take us through them?
Well, look, the myths are societal.
Okay.
We have a series of governments who use the term SME as if it means something. Mm-hmm. Small and medium-sized enterprises.
Yeah.
It encompasses 5.5 million businesses. Nearly 15% of the working population lead one of them.
Wow, okay.
A massive number.
Okay, yeah.
About 5 million of them are only employ one person. About 2 million
That's
of
a small
them.
business. That's
about
a job.
2 million of them are on benefits because they can't afford to live without the support of the state. At the other end, the medium size, which depending on whether you're defining it by turnover or by number of employees, is anywhere between about 13 or 60
employees.
60,000 people.
Oh, wow, okay.
Literally, there are only that number of medium-sized businesses in there.
Right.
And at the top end of that, they're turning over 350 million and employing over 240 people. How is it that the government can rattle off a phrase, SME, when nearly everybody in there is just one person, but some of them are proper grown-up businesses? Do we really think their needs are the same?
Absolutely not, because an SME, at the very bottom of the scale, the S, has the very, very wee S, has created themselves a job.
Yes, and
that
a
possibly
dependency.
needs propping up.
Needs propping up,
yeah.
Exactly that. And so government policy is all geared around how do we support the startup? How do we celebrate these heroes who are brave enough to, get up and start something for themselves? And they are heroes, but they are heroes who are underdeveloped, need a lot of support, need a lot of guidance, and don't get any unless they find it for themselves.
Yeah.
And of course, people don't go looking for something that they don't know that they don't need.
You don't know what you don't know.
Indeed. And so the first myth is that the engine of the British economy is founding new businesses and then leaving people lost trying to work out what to do with them. Because after 5 years, you've got a 90-odd% failure rate in terms of not yet able to properly sustain the person who founded it.
Just that one person?
Well, yeah, just the one. I mean, but most of them have actually gone out of business.
Yeah.
But you can't call it success if the person who started it can't afford to live on what they started.
No.
And so the idea that this is the engine of the growth of the British economy is utter nonsense.
Yeah, it is.
And then when you look at, most of the people who are out in chambers of commerce and institute of directors and local networking are people who are trying to reach their first million a year in revenue, not profit, revenue. Nearly all of those so-called active, seemingly successful micro businesses are trying to break their first million,
Yeah.
and it's less than 3% will actually achieve that. And then taking
Wow.
that on from the 1 million to just 10 million, which is really the start point for being the engine of anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the end of the runway ready to take off. There's less than 0.5% get to that stage, not yet ready to head down the runway and take off. And then to get from there to 100 million or beyond, you're talking again only about 0.5% getting to that level. And so the numbers are really tiny. But actually, if the government really wanted to know where the engine of the British economy is, those 13 to 50,000, depending on whether it's revenue or employees, capable of really driving growth and really driving productivity is where it sits. Of those 50,000 do half the total sales of the 5.5 million who are smaller than them. Wow. 50,000 do
50%.
half what 5.5 million people are trying to do.
That's a bit like the way the tax works as well. But
if you were to take just those 50,000 businesses and say to them, could you please improve your productivity from about 30% and double it to about 60%, you would increase the corporation tax take by 30 billion a year.
Perhaps you should talk to Rachel.
Indeed, and you know, our Chancellor was looking for about that number when trying to tax people that really could not and should not have been taxed, and created a whole raft of unfairness and unworkable situations.
And exodus, a mass exodus.
And all it would have taken was a little bit of pump priming focused on a relatively small number of businesses to achieve the whole of the problem, not just for this year, but for every year thereafter.
But let's not
get into politics.
So in the last episode, you mentioned that the myth is that the difference between 10 million and 100 million is 5.5 inches, i.e. between left and right ear.
Indeed.
So can we unpick that a bit?
Well, yes. So most of us get our understanding, young people get their understanding of what it is to be an entrepreneur from two sources. The education system, which leads people to believe that you can be anything you want to be and you can start as a career choice a business from scratch when you leave university.
Yeah.
And Hollywood, that has this idea that young people get into business, are enormously successful and have wealth unbounded and fast cars and fancy holidays and private jets and all this stuff as a result of simply having an idea. And it doesn't work that way.
Really?
The idea of being the lone hero simply does not work as a business model, but it is how roughly 5.5 million people behave when they are leading a fledgling business.
And they're perceived as being the hero as well, aren't they? Because they're the brave person that goes out and battles against all odds to become the hero who have created themselves a job.
Yeah, there are local awards. The local newspaper, the local radio will celebrate the fact that you went out and won a big order, or you managed to open a new branch, or you managed to do some small thing that has taken you from nowhere to a little way.
Yeah.
But that's not going to provide you with the freedom or the lifestyle that you probably imagined when you set out on this journey to be self-sustaining, freedom of choice, wealth to do the sorts of things that you really want to spend your time doing. And it just doesn't happen. And even when you get to the beginning of opportunity at about 10 million, you're still incredibly busy, stressed, overworked, and virtually no disposable income. So it really isn't the dream that people imagine. And the only way you can make it that way is by understanding the levers of performance and the mechanism of leadership.
Right.
People are not born leaders, they're trained to be leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And most people who set out on the entrepreneurial journey spend all of their time focused on building the business and almost none of it on building themselves and developing their capability as leaders.
But that's because, as you say, we get to the end of our education, be it the end of the bachelor's or the master or the PhD, and then we're done.
Yeah, but
off we go. We are
we're not
destined to bigger and better things. The more education you have, the more likely you are to succeed, Indeed. Which is a myth.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's a myth not just in business. No. That's a myth in life.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that when you graduate you're now the finished article and you can largely dispense with further self-development or education is nonsense. I mean, the people who really succeed are the ones who say, thank you, I've now got all of the building blocks. I now understand how to learn, and I'm now going to focus on learning more every day to achieve a definition of success that is created for themselves.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I don't think that everybody should have the same definition of success. There are people who are quite happy being kind, looking after others, and living broadly in poverty themselves, and their definition of success is how many other people they make happy. And absolutely fantastic. You're absolute right to decide that, and who says who's right and who's wrong?
No.
If it's right for you, it's right. The difficulty is when people have an idea of success that's given to them by probably other people that is way beyond their current capability of achieving, unless they focus on what you have to do to achieve it. If they do that, then over a period of time you can learn the skills and compound it and get to a place where you can achieve that particular definition of success. My big warning is just make sure that it is your definition of success that you're chasing. Most of us take somebody else's definition of success and almost on a daily basis get diverted from, to the right and then to the left and then up and then down, anything but the direct route to where we think success should be, because we haven't thought about it.
True. And we don't know what we don't know as well.
No, and indeed, of course, you do need to keep re-evaluating that because we can all remember those cringeworthy days when we were teenagers and some aged aunt would say, well, dear, what are you going to do for a career? And you go, I don't really know, because you've no experience on which to base it. And that's true all the way through your life. You've only got your own experience and the things that you've seen and touched and felt to base your vision of success on. Businesses, if they do things properly, and the very big businesses that are dominant and remain powerful for decades, all review it every year. They redefine success themselves every single year as part of a process of making sure that they remain dominant and strong.
Which is vital in this ever-changing world. And we are changing in tech, with AI, we're changing globally. Every time Mr. Trump opens his mouth, we're changing, so we have to pivot. And I think the key is if you are able to go back to the previous episode, ask the questions of what's coming next, what don't I know, what should I know, then you are able to do that. That is all part of your development.
Yep. And look, and I'm already a pensioner, and I'm still trying to work out what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Yeah, me too.
So this is a lifelong problem.
Well, We've both been on the same course that we did in terms of living on purpose, where Craig, who we both know, talked about the Anthony Robbins 6 human needs, and one of them, which is a spiritual human need, is growth.
Yes.
So every human being needs to grow. Everything needs to grow, otherwise they wilt away and
Yes.
atrophy.
Well,
so
you know, if you've achieved the point where you've seen everything you want to see,
yeah,
experienced everything you want to experience, and have got everything that you might want to buy or have, it's time to die.
yeah, it's time to lie down. Absolutely.
The fact of the matter is, you're blessed if you've got things that you're still striving for right up to your last days.
Absolutely.
And all of us are on this journey of progression, and each of us has a different definition of success. But the thing about people who go into business is they tend to forget themselves and focus only on the business. Those who are going to be truly successful are those who first work out what success looks like for them, and then how does that fit with what they're trying to create as a business. And if you can pitch that out several years and define that in very great detail, and then just work back year by year what you would need to do to get there, you can build a bridge from a real definition of success to where you are now, and it shows you what to do.
You've got a name for that, haven't you?
I call that Utopia First.
Yeah.
So it's a variant on a well-known technique that does it for the business, but it adds in that critical factor. I don't know anybody else who does add it in, by the way, that critical factor of doing exactly the same process for you as a human being.
Yeah.
And if you as a human being know where you are going and you look after yourself, then you are capable of looking after your family and your friends and your employees and contributing to king and country.
Yeah.
If you don't look after yourself, you can't do any of those things.
I totally agree in everything. And it's a whole aeroplane thing. Put your own mask on first and then help other people. Otherwise, if you can't breathe, you're not going to be able to do that. It's
Exactly that.
Business. So you said there are myths about business, about growing a business. Are there any others that we haven't covered?
Well, I mean, there are a number of others that come up. I mean, there's a zombie myth, which is effectively where businesses get to when they've grown the business bigger than they are, and so they start to flatline in terms of growth. They are relatively unprofitable, sometimes loss-making, and they just literally exist to pay the bills.
Wow.
They're zombies, and people don't know how to break out of that zombie state, and some of them feel as though it's a form of success. You know, it's a bit like spending Sunday afternoon in your living room with the fire and your slippers on, and you're nice and warm, and there's nothing really bothering you. It's all right on a Sunday afternoon,
I don't think I want to do it
but you wouldn't want that to be every day.
No.
You know, and so you've got any number of zombie businesses out there who simply exist to pay the blessed bankers. You know, they borrowed money and all they do is service the debt, and they employ people, but there's no progression for those people. There's no promotion for those people. There's no excitement for them. They just simply live. So there's, you know, a myth that needs understanding, breaking down, and then, as you say, living on purpose so that you break out of that and do something different.
But in that state, as a CEO, you have probably fallen into sort of lethargy, haven't you? And therefore, actually, you probably need somebody to go in and pull you out of it rather than actually drive.
Essentially, you've suppressed your ambition and you've just allowed life to happen to you. Which, if you're comfortable with that, is absolutely fine. I don't want to criticise anybody who thinks that's a good way of life. But many people don't think that's a good way of life. They simply don't know how to break out of it, and it's not that difficult.
They're bored and unhappy.
It's not that difficult. And then you have this kind of phoenix myth, which is companies struggle and struggle and struggle, and they say, if only we had a bit more money, and then from somewhere they get a lump of money, and they change nothing in the way they do business.
They rise out of the ashes, though. That's what the phoenix does.
Like phoenix-like,
Yeah.
they get a new lease of life because they've got a lump of money. Only the money only lasts, a year, 2 or 3 years, and then they're back where they started, because they changed nothing about the model or the governance or the way that they conduct their affairs that will enable them never to need anybody else's money again.
Yeah.
I mean, a business is a structure that is there to serve us. Most founders find themselves serving the structure.
Right.
They live to support this creation that was supposed to set them free and provide opportunity and wealth and lifestyle for themselves and all of the people who support them. If it's not doing that, it's not doing its job. Businesses are not something in their own right. They are there to serve us. They're a tool. They're a means of us exchanging what we're good at with other people and what they're good at, so that there's money for us to do the things that we chose to do. None of us on our deathbed looks back and says, I wish I'd spent more time in the business.
No.
Nobody does.
Absolutely not. No.
We live to do things other than our work, usually.
So you got to flip it to the business working for you rather than you working for the business.
Yes. I mean, essentially, you have to go on this journey of learning how to design a business that serves you rather than creating and running a business that you serve. People who run a business are not successful. People who lead a business and create an environment where everybody else's success becomes inevitable have achieved broadly what they set out to do, which is to create opportunities for others and to have the freedom to do what they want to do and have this structure of a business serve them.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't, in this country, we don't know how to lead. No. We're taught about how to manage.
Yes.
And that goes back to what we said in the last episode about micromanaging and then not actually being able to step out of it. So how does someone go from this comfortable, and if they're comfortable, it might be uncomfortable, but that place of knowing, i.e. they're either flatlining as a zombie or they've done this phoenix and then they're back into they're comfortable in the environment that they've created. How do they go from that to something else? Because there's a psychological barrier as well, isn't there, behind all of this?
There is.
The fear of not being enough or not being able to, or what if I put my head above the parapet and someone slices it off?
To solve any problem, you have to recognise there is a problem.
Yeah.
So you can't, for people who are in denial about there being a problem, you can't really help them and they can't help themselves. For people who've said, I'm in a place that I don't want to be, but I don't know why,
right.
As long as they ask for help, you can find out why, and then you can analyse the problem, and then you can solve the problem. But most of the people who I meet who for themselves are admitting, I just don't like where I'm at, are not yet ready emotionally to let that out and share it with anybody else.
Interesting. So how do you help someone do that?
I don't know. I'm not God. I can only help people who have reached the point where they say, I want to be helped.
Right.
I mean, in the world of distress businesses, where they owe money to everybody, the government, the banks, the credit card companies, you name it, they owe money to, they can be so far in the hole and still not admit that there's a problem and think, if only I could find a bit more money, we could carry on for a few more weeks. They still won't ask for help. It's just...
But that's psychological, isn't it?
It's ego.
It's ego. So, ties into... So they think it's safer to stay where they are than to actually ask for help or
Yeah,
to admit that they're wrong? Or
Unfortunately, society has taught us to think that we need to behave in a particular way.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you see it with children. You know, you see teenage girls who need to be a particular shape. You see teenage boys who need to be in the gym and create a particular shape that they you know, they aspire to, but they can't achieve. There's all kinds of pressures on people from outside that tell us what we have to conform to, and none of us is ready to admit that everybody else in the world is like us and is not the finished article. We are all still learning. We're all still striving to improve. And you look at world champions and they have a team of coaches trying to help them get just 0.00% better than they were before and their next nearest competitor. And the real champions keep saying, what's wrong with me? How do I improve? And they improve. And yet those of us who are just a country mile off the top somehow need to pretend that we are the perfect, we've got it all sorted, we're in control, we know what we're doing, and we can't share with everybody else or just take a little bit of help in solving some relatively simple things that would release us from the trap.
So in the next episode, should we start looking at how to release us from that trap and what that transition is?
We should, and that'd be fun, and it'd be nice to talk about something positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And also in later episodes, we are going to be inviting CEOs in who have made that transition, possibly not to the 4.4 billion mark, because they may well be some on their own private island, but we're going to be inviting people in to talk about where they were and how they got there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how big the pile of money is, it's still not success.
Fair enough.
The pile of money just makes it easier to live with failure. You know, the money is just a means of exchange. I call it freedom tokens.
Yeah, well, I like that because it is.
You know, it's all about creating choices and being able to fulfill our human needs of being able to help other people, you know, having value for ourselves, having the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to live with change and to shape change. And those are the things that we actually crave. The money is just a means of being able to do some of those things.
And that's another myth that we've been taught, that money is so very, very important and you've got to get X amount.
Indeed, but the thing that all of us want to do is a bit like playing a musical instrument. You know, you have to practice for it to sound good. And managing yourself, you have to practice.
Yeah, true.
And you need a little bit of help showing you, you know, what the chords are and how to strum or, you know, how to blow or whatever it is, whatever the technique is. We all need help.
A bit of personal disclosure, I'm suffering from that learning paddle at the moment. I'm useless. And I know I've got to practice because practice makes perfect.
You know, and years ago I gave up playing musical instruments and I keep promising myself that I will pick it up and relearn how to do some of that stuff because making music is wonderful. Isn't it lovely? So in the next episode, are we going to look at the utopia, working that, what do you call it again? Utopia first. Utopia first. So we're going to look at how we look at utopia and then work it backwards to where we are now. Fabulous. Thanks, Tim. I really enjoyed that. Me too. Thank you.